So you did your research into resilience in coastal communities in Iceland. I believe you went back to Germany for a little while. Now you're back here in Ísafjörður.
Yes.
In the University Center of the Westfjords. What brought you here?
Well, the day that I defended my thesis, my supervisor and co-supervisor came like, have you heard about this job opening in the Westfjords? And that came at a time when I just tried to settle again in Germany and thought like, yeah, I saw it, but I'm not really sure. I want to give Germany another try and go back and work in an interesting institute as well. But I didn't stop thinking about this place, and I really felt well in Iceland, and it felt good to be here, and the research was fun, and I didn't stop thinking about this job opening, and then it was closed. Luckily, they postponed the start of this program for 1 year, and then I said like, okay, if this is ever open again, I will definitely apply, because my as you said, like my dissertation was called Mapping Resilience, Coastal Communities in Iceland. This program is called Coastal Communities and Regional Development. I think this is quite a good match. So this program is really about almost everything I'm fascinated about as well.
So tell us about what it is about, and
so
what makes this a special program in what is offered in Iceland?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. We can go to the global scale as well. Of course, it's unique in Iceland. Unique on a global scale because usually programs that are about planning are usually about urban planning, regional planning on a much larger scale. There's not many places where you can look into remote settlements, rural coastal communities, far off in geographical terms, but also in some economic terms, probably far off from decision makers and stuff. And so we look into the concepts of geography, sociology, economics, and planning, which is, I think, a very, very good combination to look into community development, into regional development. And we explore it from very different perspectives, not only focusing on Iceland. Of course, we use Iceland as an example very often, because I think it has very good examples for negative effects, positive effects as well. But we invite teachers from all over Europe, North America, Iceland, to share their experiences. We have academics, we have people with hands-on experience coming from companies, from development institutes. So I think we have a pretty good mix of people and our instructors. And what is also unique and special is that we focus on one particular topic at a time for 2 or 3 weeks. We teach in modules, which helps us to focus on one particular issue at a time, which I think is also quite unique and quite good. And then we develop thesis ideas together with the students that are addressing urgent issues in regional development and community development. Yeah.
Why does a project like this need to exist?
Well, I mean, as I said before, a lot of studies that you could compare to a certain extent focus on urban planning, urban studies, or the region at a larger scale. And there are still a lot of small communities around. Small depends on the definition, of course. In Iceland, if we talk about small communities with people of 100 to 500 people, but I think all over the Arctic, we have very many small and remote settlements that definitely need to be researched, where we need experts, where we need people that develop ideas with the people, that have all kind of tools at hand that they hopefully get in this program here, to explore, to research these places, work with the people, develop good ideas from the bottom up with some instruction from the top, of course, which I call the top-led, bottom-fed approach, something like this. So I think urbanization is one of the pressing issues, I think, for the past 20, 30 years. More and more people going to the urban centers, but we have to look what happens to the places that the people left. What does it mean that well-educated people, highly educated people do not go back to the communities? So who is left in these places? what are their chances, what are their abilities, and how can we attract people back? And this is, I think, one of the main focal points of this program. How can we avoid that people have to migrate to urban centers in case they do not want to migrate? Of course, everybody should be free to go to Reykjavik or to any other big city in the Arctic, but we have to develop ideas for people that say like, no, I do not want to go to an urban center to develop my ideas, to be innovative, to have a good living. I want to have a good living in a small remote settlement, and I want my village to survive the next 20, 30, 40 years, and I want other people to have a good life as well. So I think we should focus on that as well, to develop, maybe also going in another topic, new indicators. What does it mean, a good life in a small place? Which indicators do we have except economic growth, economic development? There must be more indicators, and I would like to see that happening as well as an outcome of this program, to develop new indicators, new measures for the assessment of community development, successful community development, other than just hardcore economic factors.
Yeah, I remember this description from your dissertation, the top-led, bottom-fed sort of approach. It's a major sort of framework around something I'm very interested in at the moment, which is dubbed as mission-driven innovation, which is about how it's necessary to come together on a kind of a social plane, usually through kind of some sort of public decision-making to decide on where do we want to direct the innovation, towards what goals for us as a community or society or people do we want innovation to go, and then figure out a framework for there to be a bottoms-up development of these goals. So we can, creativity is something that's very difficult to lead from above.
Absolutely.
But there still needs to be some sort of a concentration on direction. So this is very much something that's being discussed, and I think the European Union has been adopting some of this. I don't know if it's successful or not, or how well it's going, but there's definitely an interesting discussion going on, which brings me to, we could call it a mission-driven innovation, which is that we are participating in a project which is funded by the Fund for Societal Challenges, which is a recent program by the government. And the challenge that we are working on is how to build ecosystems of innovation in remote and rural communities in Iceland. And so my question, I guess, to you is, with everything that the University Center has going on and yourself personally, why were you interested in joining up in this research, and what do you see it as the importance of that?
Yeah, I think it totally. When you came up with this idea to apply, I think it was the right moment to ask me, because I think I wanted to continue to research resilience, but make innovation or an innovation ecosystem a much bigger focus on it. So definitely innovation should be a highlighted parameter of my resilience assessment, and I think it goes very well along. And so when you asked, I thought there are definitely some aspects that could be tailored to it that I would really like to look into, new concepts for community development. What would it need to have a good innovative ecosystem in small or coastal communities and non-resilient communities probably. So I think it was really fitting, and what we develop now, the work package that I'm in charge of, is exactly that. We have one student that wants to look into possible positive impacts of the universal basic income. I'm pretty much undecided. I mean, some people might argue it will help, that people will stay in small communities because they don't have to worry about money in the future, or at the end of the month, how to make ends meet, and say, I don't have to go and take a non-preferred job, the first opportunity that you can get. I don't have to worry about that. I can really be without the economic limitation in my head and like, damn, how do I get my money? Develop ideas, focus on what they really want without having to fear that they can't make ends meet in the end. So this is one thing I would really like to look into. Could this, in a way, increase innovation, or improve the innovation ecosystem in places all around Iceland? Another one that I just discussed with you yesterday or a few days during the past weeks. What kind of new measures can we apply to measure the success of innovation, of regional development ideas? Because I think most of the measures that we have in place now are economic growth. Did these ideas lead to economic growth in places? Did this lead to population growth? Did it lead to new companies being built and started? I think these are very valid discussions, but I think we need new measures to quality of life, happiness, stuff like this that you cannot really quantify necessarily. Well, but I would like to find ways to do that, to measure and quantify, but also to qualify some not quantifiable, qualifiable. Analysis.
This is very speaking into a very relevant context in what I am looking for with innovation and the kind of stuff that I am researching and reading, which is the question, for example, of growth. It's assumed in many cases that technology or innovation should lead to economic growth, but we seldom talk about the growth of what. So not the sort of the rate of the growth, how much did the economy as a whole grow, which can be growth that is doing bad things or non-useful things, versus the direction of the growth. So as we probably share a similar thought about this, if Goldman Sachs grows exponentially in some kind of a subprime mortgage scheme that's ruining the economy, that's a lot of growth, but directed towards what? So I feel there's some similarity towards these new metrics of how do we measure success in terms of counting what?
Counting what? And so far it's counting heads and counting money. So it's like, I was like, no, it's not. I mean,
hats and money are somewhat easily countable.
Yes, that's true.
Because most people have one hat and it's kind of on the top, so you can see the hat.
Yes, exactly. No, but actually, this is what one of the persons said, that in the place that I defined as non-resilient, that went down from 400 plus people down to 160 people. I said, like, it doesn't matter if we have 400 or 160. So like, she prefers 160 happy people in a place than 400 that are somewhat unhappy, or whatever she said back then. And exactly that's what I said. And the other community that I researched, people were like, yeah, all these small scale solutions are wonderful. I had workshops with the youngsters, and I was like, what would it need for you to stay here? If you had the choice, the free choice, and tell the decision makers, the planners, about your ideas, what would it be? What would the ideas be? And the 15 years old that were just about to go to Reykjavik or Akureyri for Menntaskólinn, high school, so they came up with really surprising ideas, really cool ideas in this workshop. I was like, wow, that's great. A scenario workshop. I took it to some decision makers, policy makers, like, yeah, it's all nice ideas. It's small scale solutions, lovely, very romantic ideas. But what we really need is people. We need large scale solutions. Like, do you really need people? Wouldn't it be good to just attract those people that you're just losing now for higher education, to attract them back with the solution that they just developed?
Absolutely.
This is something
a lot of power in the what you measure and how you measure it.
And you have this arbitrary measures sometimes. I don't want to go too deep into politics. I don't want to interfere with the decision made that you need 1,000 inhabitants in Iceland by the end of 25, I think, right? To to be an independent municipality, whatever independence means, and this is completely arbitrary. You know, it's like, and now of course people or some communities feel completely under pressure to say, like, oh, we need to go over this 1,000 and like, stop counting heads. So
okay, so in a way to wrap this conversation up a little bit, what are your hopes and dreams for the coastal communities and regional development project? How would you like it to, what are your personal ambitions for it to grow into? This is only the second year, of course, that you're doing it, and in a same vein, this innovation project that we are doing, what are you really hoping that comes out of it from your perspective?
Answering the latter question first, I think what would be really awesome, and we should not overestimate the impact of research projects, but of course just something that we do now, have a podcast, other outreach media than just writing academic articles. It's nice, it has its justification, of course, but what I would really like to see
the manufacturing of PDFs.
Yes, exactly. That hardly anybody reads afterwards, unfortunately. Sometimes it's good. It's what I would really like to see is like what I just said, like slightly hoping for a paradigmatic change to spur a debate, like switching the mindset of people. Like, okay, maybe there are new ideas to old problems, so that we just at least discuss some new approaches. And I think that would be just great as a first outcome of this project. And this is why it's like, yes, let's do that. And this is why we also want to get students on board. This is why we have 2 master projects attached to this project. Which leads me then to the first question that you had. What do I want to see here? I really want to provide a good environment for students to develop critical thinking about regional development, question some of the existing plans, of the old plans, as I said, old problems, old solutions, come with new solutions, come with innovative solutions. I think we are overusing this word a lot, but have a good critical thinking group of people here. And right now we have 7 students. I would like to see some more, but of course I don't want too many people, because what I really like is that we work in small groups, talking about real world problems, trying to find solutions with the instructors, with it, that from all kind of all different backgrounds. Ideally, some of the students would stay here, help us to improve the quality of life in the Westfjords and the communities that we have here, or all of Iceland. It doesn't have to be the Westfjords, but of course it would be great if some of them just go to other places outside of Iceland, back to their home communities, other places around the world, and help to develop good and lively communities.
Okay. As a very end note to this talk, you mentioned that your ambition is to spur debate. What is a question that you want to leave the viewers with that they should debate?
Oh, okay, I can leave you with one question that is not a nice question. Because I haven't found a solution to it. I haven't found an answer to it, and this is what I want to look into as well, but I think nobody will ever fund this idea or will give me money to research it.
Well, now here's your chance to get people to think.
I get people to think?
Okay. Comment on YouTube or something.
Okay, how can we define an endpoint to resilience? What do we do with communities that are far beyond a resilience, that are losing too many people, having 40 people left, hardly anybody, or no youngsters at all, no young families at all? Where do we have to set an endpoint? It's like, okay, we give up this community. Is there what I call a socially acceptable way to dismantle a community? Nobody was able to answer this question so far, I think. In welfare states, you're not allowed to ask this question. Not allowed, but it's out of question to ask this. And in hyper-capitalist systems, they would say, like, well, we leave it to the markets to decide, basically. And what I also phrase as community Darwinism or whatever, is there survival of the fittest? Is that a concept that we should apply to communities as well? Which I'm not for, to be honest, but where would we bring up an endpoint that is not market driven?
Very good.
If somebody has an answer, I would be very happy. And you don't have to have an answer. I just like to discuss this topic, like where to put an endpoint in community development.
Okay.
That which is not really progressive, I think, or not a really nice thing to talk about, but I think we have to face the inconvenient truth at one point that continuous degrowth will end at 0. And is that then the endpoint?
Very good. Thank you so much.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Great, thanks.